Hey Rage Nation, Kimber Schaefer here with Rage in the Cage, Oklahoma. We are talking all things Rage in the Cage 93 going down Saturday, May 27th at the Heart of Oklahoma Expo Center in Shawnee. We are here at Academy of Martial Arts where Ken Coulter is back, ready to rage it up again. You train right here at Academy of Martial Arts. And it has been maybe 3-4 years since we last saw you. I mean, Ken, I can't imagine um, how many fights I can't even count how many fights you did for Rage. When you first started, you fought every single card. Like every 6 weeks, if we were having a card, Ken Coulter was on the card. And that went for a couple of years. And so this has been a tough 4 years without you, buddy. I mean, life is just different. All the fighters that started with Rage, we have a whole nother family now of fighters. So it is like so awesome to have you back on a card. Those of you that grew up with Rage in the Cage, because these fighters nowadays are so young. They grew up watching you. They were probably young teenagers when you were fighting at Rage in the Cage. So you are, for them to fight alongside you right now is probably pretty cool to them. So how do you feel being back?
Feel great. Actually, it's been a long time, so I've been working really hard to get back to this point between injuries and just everything else, COVID, life, and it just seemed like I would never get back here.
So have you been training this whole time, or did you take time out for life in general and not training for a while?
I stayed training the whole time in between injuries, but not getting that Kendrick Coleman around the clock training I need. So, like, training and staying in shape versus his class is not the same.
Okay. So you weren't really training here per se. You were just
Not
training.
enough.
Yeah. Sorry. So it was pre-COVID that you fought for us. Your last fight was at Sugar Creek Casino. And as I said, you had a pretty lengthy amateur career. Um, I mean, I think the majority of your fights were for Rage in the Cage, amateur and pro. What made you want to stick with us? When back then we had a lot more promotions to choose from. A lot of them are no longer here, but of course Rage in the Cage has stood the test of time. But you stuck with us even when other promotions were calling you, trying to get them on their cards. What made you stick with us all those years?
That feeling of being home. You guys gave me a platform to go out and perform, and so I took that as something that was very near and dear to my heart. And loyalty, it's not enough of it. And so, for you guys to give me a chance, I felt like I needed to come out and support you guys back.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I will say it's just, it's not the same anymore. I don't think, like you said, there's not enough loyalty in the world. I'm not just in martial arts. I'm not speaking just at Rage in the Cage. I'm just saying in general, there's just not enough of that anymore. So we appreciate you that you hang tough with us and that you've always allowed Rage in the Cage to feature you as a fighter for us because it's a two-way street here. We choose you, you choose us, and we appreciate that you've always been there for us. And you've been there for Rage in the Cage in some big moments in our history. And I was just thinking as I walked into Academy of Martial Arts tonight, um, one of the last times I did interviews here was when we did the bombing victims. We interviewed all of the family, the Denny family here, and it was such a special moment. And when I walked in, it really brought all that back to me. And, Mr. Denny recently passed away about a year ago. And so that family I knew really well because I covered the bombing trials when I worked at News 9. And I just remember the bond that you had with that family. I introduced you fighters to the Denny family, but they had a special bond with you. Did you keep in contact with them much?
For the most part, it went on for a little bit before they got older and just kind of moved on with life. But I was able to do two of the shows, I think. So it was.
Yep, we did two back-to-back fundraisers for their
And I
family.
believe I main evented both of them. And so that was just another thing to be able to give back because you guys are big on giving back and just helping out people get to where they need to be in life because without this, I mean, no interviews, no anything at that point, and people really didn't know who I was. So for you guys to come out, air me on YouTube, let me get out there and shine and do my thing, that's kind of what keeps me here. So
You're one of the fighters that you knew Mike Crawford. You knew our owner really well. You knew his heart for giving back. And like you said, there were multiple shows every year where he supported causes or even individuals. We had kids with cancer, different things that were near and dear to his heart that he supported. And the Denny family just happened to be a family we supported a couple of times because of my connection with them. But Mike was so on board for that. And tell me about, and I haven't asked any other fighter this tonight, but I know you knew Mike. Tell me about his heart and what he meant to you.
Um, First person to ever give me a chance, right, was Mike Crawford. No one knew I was gonna come out and actually turn it into something that now it's 10 years. So that for me is it's I can't describe the feeling, and to lose Mike, which is a real close friend to me. It's not really been talked about to much people, but me and Mike were close. He always gave me a shot. He always would pick up the phone, and he was always somebody you could call and talk to. And like it's weird not being able to call him because no matter what, he always picked up. And usually whatever it was sure, buddy, come on. So
Yeah. So if you had something to ask of him, he would usually say yes, and he was a good person. Kendrick Coleman and Mike knew each other for a long time, and Kendrick actually told me, I didn't realize this, that he was a bodyguard for a while when Mike owned several nightclubs, and Mike was always having to fight people, rowdy people, and that's actually where a lot of the fighters, Mike would see a troubled person causing ruckus. Um, Kendrick Slowbo was one of those, out there trying to fight everybody in the club. And he got Kendrick in the cage and said, "Hey, if you're going to do this, if you're going to fight, you might as well, do it in a cage where you actually can become somebody and make something of yourself." And that's really at the club. People try to do the street fighting. That's where you got a lot of fighters, and so it worked out perfect. But I appreciate hearing that. I kind of put you on, on the line to tell me about that. But I knew that you knew the person that he was, and this is the memorial show. And so obviously it's Memorial Day weekend, so we're paying tribute to all of our military veterans, people that have made the ultimate sacrifice for us. But Mike did that as well. He sacrificed so much money because in the beginning, of course, you lose money, and even now, it's not like Rage in the Cage has been here for a long time, but there's times when I'm scared to death, especially since Mike passed away, and it's on me now. At the end of the day, I've got to pay the bills. And so it gets scary. Martial arts is an expensive, very regulated thing to put on, and the expenses are astronomical. Like it's it's unreal how much money goes into a show, but it's one of those things that Mike did because he believed in you and he believed in other fighters. So but you're back, and he would be so excited that you're
had
back
to
finally. Yes, he would be cheering you on, and he's going to be cheering you on there in the cage.
definitely.
So, but you and Tyson, your opponent is Tyson. You guys are the main event. You guys kind of came up at Rage in the Cage about the same time. I think Tyson may have debuted for other promotions and fought for other promotions in the midst of all of that. But there were cards that both of you fought on, I believe, at the same time.
I believe so. Just kind of hit and miss and around each other, the different weight class.
Yeah, you never faced each other as
So we
amateurs.
never did, and then now, I mean, I don't walk around as big as I did, so it's going to be a really even fight. And all I hear is good things about him. So he
Hmm.
tried to turn it up a little bit, but when you got two good fighters that's going to go out and take each other out, you don't really have to add to it, right? We're about to go take care of business. We're professionals, and that's what we're here to do. So just make sure y'all show up.
I have to know, Ken. Turned Up for What? Is that still your song? Or
Well,
are you thinking of something new? Are you
I've
gonna just
had
keep
some
it?
new songs, but maybe we go back. Let them know, hey, we're back to business. So I mean, we'll see. Nah, you got to show up to find out.
I don't care where I am. If I hear that song, that's Ken Coulter's song. So I mean, it's funny because anywhere I hear that, I can be in the middle of a nightclub, I can be in the airport. If I hear that song, I'm like, you come to mind because for so many years you walked out to that song, and I'm not saying you have to walk out to that song, but I'm just saying that's your song. That's just something I always um, remember you for. So it's special in that way. So, you said you walk around smaller than what you did back
Yeah, I
then.
used to have a lot of weight, thinking I need to be bigger, listening to other people, like, oh, 55ers are big, this and that. Well, then you do just not taking care of your body, listening to everyone else. It's just a lot that goes into
Mm.
it. And so
You were
you think,
muscle.
I mean, I still am, but not with the extra added water weight, right? If you walk around and your cardio is good and you're constantly working cardio, then your body is not going to stay big. It just doesn't. So my body's not staying big.
Yeah. So, one other thing I want to mention because we're here at Academy of Martial Arts, I'm pretty sure you wore a rage belt as an amateur. Did you ever win a rage belt?
I did win one as an amateur. I was 8-1, and then I've just been chasing that pro one now. So
Yeah. So, but you're not the only guy at AMA that has worn a Rage in the Cage belt. In fact, um, every weight class
at one point.
at one point, somebody here at Academy of Martial Arts was our champion. So there's a lot to be said in that you guys have been walking alongside, and Kendrick Coleman have been walking alongside Rage in the Cage for many years, and part of our success is due to gyms like yours that have always supported us and put fighters in that cage and developed the talent needed to go in the cage, because Rage in the Cage won't put a street fighter on our cards. Rage in the Cage is not going to put somebody that has no training, that has not been in a gym. In fact, I don't know if you were on this card, but we did have a fellow one time that um, made it all the way to pre-fight interviews. Actually, this has happened twice, and it was me. I'm not even a coach. It was me that during the pre-fight interview, I could tell this kid was not ready to fight. And his mom just happened to be there that day. And I pulled her aside and I asked her, is he really ready to be in here? And she said, absolutely not. And so I talked to the matchmaker and I pulled that fight. Um, for that reason, we don't put people in the cage that aren't ready. And so um, I respect all of the gyms and the owners that train you guys and make sure that you are, I mean, they're basically signing on that dotted line that you're ready to be in there, because it's a dangerous sport. So, at the end of the day, so your personal life, when I saw you last, you were a leader at Live Church, you were in the Switch program, and I see that you're still there. So, I mean, Jesus and, just being a good role model to people is really important to you,
Yeah, it wasn't always that way, right? We
right?
all got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as where I'm going, my path, that's where I use my talents to reach people because that's what I feel like my purpose is. Um, some of them are a little hard to get to, but once they find out you're a fighter, long and behold, it's easy to talk to them. But the main thing is to stay consistent, and I want to be in the gym and training consistent as well as I've been in church. And so, in the way to do that and to make Coach Coleman proud is to just show up every day, go hard, and turn it up.
And how do you manage that all? Because you work full time, you are a dad to two beautiful babies that I miss so much, that are now 12 and 14. They're not so much babies anymore. You obviously you're a leader at Life Church, and then of course you train here at Academy of Martial Arts. How do you manage it all and do it well?
That's the problem. That's where the break comes in. You get overwhelmed. You don't understand the things you need to take out of your life, the things that are dragging you down, and the people you don't need to be around. And so, just kind of had to realign and live and kind of practice what I preach, so to say. Do the things you know you need to do. Cut out the things that you don't. And so, it just I got a lot more focused and a lot tuned into where I need to be as far as God driven, centered on God, and everything else can fall in place.
How long has it been now that you've been training this hard and decided that it's time to get back at it?
I've been trying on and off for some years now, and then it's just been injury here and there, and then every excuse that you just, oh, I'm running late, so I'm not going to go to the gym. But Coach Coleman is not going to allow you to have those excuses. So now he holds me accountable. This is where you need to be. This is what you need to do. And so when I'm not feeling it or not wanting to come to the gym on those days, I know coach is like, get here, and he's going to push me, and I usually learn. So really it's just making sure we stay focused and stay on task and not let the outside world distract me again.
Well, in your amateur career, that's the epitome of what you were. You were not distracted, you were focused. And then life happened somewhere in your pro career. And we can almost see that fire in you kind of slipping away for a while. And it was evident in those of us that knew you and loved you. And that's when I think you decided it was time to kind of walk away and get refocused. And you took that time. So do you feel more focused than ever right now?
Yes, absolutely. The flames lit, right? At the time, it just was normal. Fight, fight, fight. This is what you do. And then I took it for granted. It was a blessing, and I didn't realize what I was doing and the opportunity I had. And so when you step back and look at it, you realize, like, oh man, I'm just there. But I blew it. Like, not focused on what I needed to be doing. Too busy wanting to go hang out and party. I just wasn't showing up and being at the gym like I needed to be. So all in all, that's just it turns to disaster, right? So
It's easy to happen. I mean, it's so hard to refocus yourself, but you did, and you're definitely a success story in that regard because it's a battle for all of us. I've had trouble with that myself after Mike passed away. Is like really trying to decide which areas in my life, because I'm now doing the job of him and myself, and then in multiple areas of my life, not just Rage in the Cage. And it's hard to like really start to pull back those layers and decide, okay, this is important, this isn't, and make those choices. So I'm kudos to you for doing that.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be cliche about it, but I mean, prayer works, and that literally is what I had to do. I had to focus on God and get all the negativity away from me, and then we could focus on what we need to bring around and what we don't need to be around. And so, but I do want to say thank you for keeping it going, because here we are again, and just thank you for I don't know how many fighters or if they have sent you messages or thank you, but from me to you, thank you, because this means the world to me.
Well, and that means the world to me because I will tell you that it was hard. It's hard being here without Mike. The very first show back, I was a little bit disappointed in the fight world, I'll be honest. The August 20th show, Mike passed away in July. We already had that show planned, and it was our memorial show. And I mean, it was one of the lighter shows as far as attendance, and that was hard because I was like, you people, like I have to pay these bills at the end of the day. You need to show up, and for Mike, and so it was really hard, that show. But I think that people are really coming around and supporting our efforts, mines and Summers and Starless and all the people that have always worked for Rage in the Cage and really supporting our efforts at keeping it going because, Mike was the backbone. He was the owner. He's the one that laid this groundwork. And so, it's harder for people to put their trust in us in that same way that they put in Mike. And so we're appreciative that people are definitely getting there. And we've had some amazing shows. Our last show, March 3rd, was a complete beyond sellout. Like we had to turn people away at the door just after opening. We had to call and rent 300 chairs the day of the event. And so that was really heartwarming to see the support that we're getting. Of course, a lot of that is Summer Seaborg and her matchmaking skills and putting together great cards. And speaking of great cards, this is a great card to come back to. I mean, you are the main event, but there are 18 bouts on this card, and it might be midnight before you get in there to fight. But 3 pro fights, 2 title bouts, 4 female bouts, which, as you know, I mean, our first female fight in history was probably just like 5, 6 years ago, and it's almost unheard of. You just don't see fight cards very often where you've got 4 female bouts on there because it's just, I mean, there's less females fighting out there than there are males, and so just a fact. And so this is an amazing fight card, and I mean, I keep saying this, but you guys are going to absolutely love this venue. It is a gorgeous venue. It's made for MMA. It's when you walk in, it just feels like the big stage to me. And the dressing rooms, they've got amazing dressing rooms upstairs, so you'll be walking from an upstairs down to the venue, and it just something really neat about this place. So I'm really looking forward to showcasing a new venue for everyone there. And so honored to have you here. Anything that I didn't mention, Ken, that you want to talk about? And obviously, I want to give you some time to do some shout outs.
Um, the main thing is thank everybody for the love and support. Everybody that's just been there. Everybody with Team Coleman, AMA, all my teammates. I mean, them guys, they push me, guys and girls. I can't just say guys because it's here we're so everybody puts in the work. But I just can't thank everybody enough for the support. Coming back was not easy. I had to really buckle down and get to it. And then also, I want to thank Kevin Matheny and Rigid Automation,
All right.
located out in Norman. So
Okay.
anything automation needs, go ahead and give us a call. We're located at 2812 North Classen in Norman. So
Okay. Well, I love Norman. That was my home for a few years. Sooner born and Sooner bred. So I obviously it's a great place to be. So and that's your work. Is that where you
I
work?
work there as well.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for always bringing sponsors to the table. We appreciate them for sponsoring you, and we appreciate you being here and being back, Ken Coulter. Make sure that you get tickets from this guy or any other fighter on the card. We want to show them all love, so you can just log on to stubborn.com. There's a menu, a drop-down menu. You click the name of the fighter you support. Easy as that. They get a percentage of those ticket sales, and it helps them train. It helps fuel everything that they need to get ready for their next fight. So we appreciate all of you fighters and fans. Don't miss Rage in the Cage 93 going down Saturday, May 27th at the Heart of Oklahoma Expo Center in Shawnee. Also join us the night before. It's a 2-night memorial event on Friday, May 26th for Roll in the Cage 7. Also going to be an amazing night. We've got everything, amazing black belts all the way down, belt levels. It's going to be such a fun night, 2-night event. So join us where we're, as always, going to rage it up. All right, Rage Nation, thank you so much for watching. We love you guys. We are so thankful for our fans. Be sure to log on to our YouTube for all of the information about the fighters that fight on Rage in the Cage, all of our event news. Join us there where we always rage it up.